Hello and welcome to Out of State's DMing podcast. I'm your host, Lux Blackheart, and my co host.
Iskion.
Today we're going to be discussing barbarians. Some do, some don't. And then we're going to get into how it's the easiest class to kill yourself with. The basis for barbarians is is typically the I just want to beat stuff up and I don't care about thinking. They're the I want to be the dumb class. Uh, Even though there's some media heroes that are barbarians that aren't stupid. They can appear stupid, but they're quite genius. Can my co host
If
think
you,
of one iconic person?
let's see, that would be Conan the Barbarian, which jump-started Arnold Schwarzenegger's career.
Yes, that get jumpstart his career, and even though a lot of the times it's like, okay, he's being the stupid barbarian, it's like, he beats stuff. But then you look at it, it's like, he's being pretty clever with some of the stuff he does.
Well, he
Uh,
did something right because he became a king.
yes, he thwarted every single bad guy. He did use his big burly muscles to do it most of the time, but at the same time, did it was this big muscle up here you did see him use. So he is like the best example for a barbarian because he's both the big brawling tough guy mixed with a I'm not as stupid as I pretend to be.
He did hit
Uh,
stuff a lot.
yes,
I
yes,
mean,
he did that.
his answer to teaching a horse a lesson was to knock it out by punching it in the face.
Yeah, like I said, he did a good job of being smart, but also a good job of being stupid. Does a what's your handle animal? I punch it in the face as hard as I can. What? Yeah.
Yes.
My fist will teach it to behave. Just if it misbehaves, I'll just and
Do it
okay,
again.
okay, I'll listen. It's like, huh, like knocking a horse out by punching it in the head is not an easy task. They have pretty thick skulls, and they can take quite a beating. So just to go, it wakes up. Are you gonna listen now? Yes. It's the
I think
ultimate form of
Conan was that strong, though.
the pimp hand speaks volumes. Do you want the
Only with
discipline
a fist.
side or the pimp side? It's like the pimp side because I'll actually survive it. Um, but that goes on and does feed into the fact that barbarians' physical strength is their go-to. So having a high strength score is the best for barbarian. Then you have a high con because that also ensures their survival. They also do rely on high dex. Some people would think that no, they don't. It's like, yeah, they do. Because barbarians don't run around in heavy armor. If a barbarian's wearing heavy armor, then you need to worry about the armor he's wearing. Because a lot of their abilities don't work with medium or heavy armor, so they stay away from that. And a lot of the best barbarians aren't wearing any armor at all because they're like, I don't care, hit me. They also do have the highest hit dice a class could have, which is a D12, which out of all of the
D12 is
classes, out of all the classes, they're the only one with a die 12 for their hit die. You have like other classes that have 10 die 10s, then you have some that have die 8s, some that have die 6, one that has a die 4. So it gets pretty ridiculous with some of the ranges on hit dice. And because they are prone to having also high con, usually means they have the opportunity to have the best strength and constitution. So they'll run around like madmen.
And your D12 will be happy because the D12 is the least used die out of the
Yes,
entire set.
yes, it is. It's if you go on list through the weapons, not that many of them use a die 12, and some that you think would use die 12s are like, no, we're using two die 6 instead. It's like, it's like you think a die 4 is not, no, die 4 is used for multiple weapons, die 6 for multiple weapons, die 8 for a lot of the weapons, then some use die 10s, and not that many that use the die 12. So,
Die
barbarian,
four, magic missile.
yeah, magic missile. Most spells use die 6, while then there's ones that use the die 8. So it gets pretty like lonely at the top. Uh,
D20 gets used more. Not for
yes, it
combat, but
does.
it gets used much more.
Well, it's because it's used for out of combat.
Initiative and
It's every
everything.
single skill check you make. D20, D20.
Sorry,
Let's get on
D12.
that D20. They don't get that many barbarians. Don't get that many skills. Um, Fighter or not, they get more skill points than a fighter.
Oh, what's that?
They get baseline of 4 points plus intelligence. They do get climb, craft, anyone taken separately, handle animal, intimidate, jump, listen, ride, survival, and swim. So they get several of the athletic skills that let them, not drown because of swimming, good at climbing and jumping. They do get a sensory skill, listen, which is still really good because despite what people think, if a creature's coming at an angle from you where you're not looking, you don't get a spot check because you're looking over here. It's coming from behind you. It's the listen check that lets you go, did I hear something behind me? And it lets you look to see if there's something there. So barbarians are, go ahead, try to sneak up on me from your rear. I might hear you. Uh, they have a really good base attack. They're up there with fighters and barbarians. They favor fortitude over reflex and will, so they start off with good there. Their class abilities can get really goofy because of how they work, and this is one of the reasons why wording is key, and why some things they're not going to be seen wearing because it remove things. Uh, because they are proficient with all simple and martial weapons, light armor, medium armor, and shields, except tower shields. So that's one of the things in mind that they can use virtually everything that's not heavy armor. They have three abilities at level 1. The first one is fast movement. This is probably one of the best type of abilities anyone can have because it gives a plus 10 to your base movement speed. That may not seem big, but moving at a 40 instead of a 30 in combat does help you out a lot. It means you can charge at an
Or
80 instead of a 60. You can have more movement to move around to get flanking. It also gives you a plus 4 to all jump checks. So right there, you're already getting a huge boost.
the classic. There's a bear chasing me. I don't have to outrun it. I only have to outrun you. Guess who's
Pretty
outrunning
much.
you?
Pinch, when wearing medium armor or carrying a medium load, his speed drops to 30. So if you decide to actually go with a medium armor, even though they're proficient with medium armor, or you exceed your light load, that 10 feet goes away. So that's
Why
why,
you saw Conan wearing almost no armor the entire time he's on
yeah,
screen.
like I think like 90 in all the movies combined, like 90% of the time he was just no shirting it.
Yep.
It's like me loincloth. Ah. The second thing they get is illiteracy. Barbarians can't read or write. You have to literally spend 2 skill points to gain the ability to read and write in your languages. So you're literally spending points to read. Otherwise, me not read so good.
Well, I mean, when you can knock out a horse, your advisors better be on their toes telling you exactly what something says.
Yeah. Uh, the next thing they get is rage. Now, I love rage. It's an amazing. I'm just going to get angry and punch something. But it's also the barbarian's ultimate weakness. When you rage, your strength does go up by 4 points, which means a +2 to melee hit and damage rolls, which is really good. Your constitution goes up by 4 whole points, which is also really good because you get from that con boost, you get 2 hit points per level. You get a +2 on will saving on your will saving throws, but you get a -2 to your AC. Yeah, and even though a lot of people like to treat the bonus hit points as temporary, they're not. They go away once rage goes away, as in you lose those hit points. It even says uh, these extra hit points are not lost first, the way temporary hit points are. Keywords, they're not like temporary hit points. These temporary hit points go away first, and then it starts hitting yours. This is a direct con boost, which means
So,
your HP directly goes up, which
right.
means when
So
it
if you get
drops, it directly goes down.
right, so if you get 10 extra hit points when you rage, and then you're down to 10 hit points if at the end of your rage, you drop automatically to 0.
Yeah, which means you're limited to one action. But it's also one of those things that if you get knocked into the negative at all, and you're a level 5 barbarian, your rage ends because now you're unconscious. So if you get knocked down to like -1, which is like the cuspis of being in the negative and dying,
Being dead.
you rage ends, which means you lose those 10 hit points, which means you immediately go to -11. Ergo, you're now dead. Because again, not temporary points, they're legit hit points. So now you're dead. If you're higher level than that, you kind of want to stay away from the single digits altogether. Because if you're like, I'm a level 10, I use this rage, that's 20 hit points right there. If you come out of rage and you're less than 20
At
hit
10.
points, you're going, please, please don't be single digit. Because if you're 19 hit points, you come out of rage, you lose 20, you're at -1 now. So like, yay, we're done fighting. But if you're 10 hit points or less, and then you come out of rage, you go to the death point and beyond. I mean, you go to the death point of like instantly dead because of it. So it's one of those things that even though you're permitted to be somewhat more reckless, more stupid in a rage, you need to pray that your hit points don't reach a certain point. Otherwise, you're going to die.
And it's the easiest class to kill itself.
Yeah, that's why it literally is a I kill myself class. So it's one of those things that as combat goes on, the cleric or anyone with healing powers is going to be your best friend, and part of their entire stick is going to be getting close enough to you to keep you alive. Because they're like, he's going to kill himself, he's going to kill himself. Run it behind, heal. Run it behind, heal. I need to keep you alive, heal. Stop getting hit, heal.
Crazy beat stick.
Yeah, it's like crazy beat stick, stay within healing distance. Uh, and it's also one of those things that, like, if you happen to go negative, pray you go negative relatively close to your cleric, so that way if a DM decides to be like, I'm gonna give the cleric one turn to get you into the you're not dead section as a way to not kill your character, that's like the technically golden zone is if you can if you can heal him enough to not be beyond neg 10, I'll let the character stay alive. Just I've done that. But the amount of times clerics have gone, oh, we'll get to him in a moment. It's like, yay,
You realize you
several
just
minutes
killed
in game has passed because they're too busy looting bad guys instead of healing. And they're like, oh no, now I heal him. Great. You just cast a heal on him. I healed him for a lot. Me going, great. You just healed a corpse. No, I didn't. He's alive now. It's like, no, I gave you a chance and you failed the chance because you decided to loot the corpses instead of saving a party member. But it's like there's no buts. He
good
dropped
job.
dead.
You
You had
just
a
killed the hero.
round. Yeah, you had a round to save him to undo his uh self kill self takeout effect.
Is self unaliving.
Yeah, and you chose greed over it. Uh, so it's like no, um, yeah, they're playing a class that has a self delete program programmed into it,
Yes.
and I'm given a chance to undo that self deleting. But like there's been multiple times. I mean, multiple times where it's like, okay, I have two clerics and a paladin. You guys are looting the bad guys. You the same bad guys that the barbarian literally used all of their stuff against to actually kill because you guys are sucking at this. And instead
The
of just
paladin,
healing, they just loot the bad guys. It's like,
the paladin looting instead of healing. That's
well,
a
any good
strength of the
aligned
paladin.
healer choosing greed over saving a friend's life, it's a that's an alignment blow right there. So when I say plenty of barbarians in my games have self-killed themselves, and regardless of me doing every single out possibly I can to make them not, only to have that opportunity squandered by people who have literally gone. Well, you should only have it be temporary so that way it doesn't die, or you should give us like a prolonged opportunity to save him. It's like these are the same people who, when I go, yeah, if he dies, I'll give you one round to cast healing to get him beyond this point. Now, I'm not even gonna say get him to pause in the positive numbers. Just get him enough to be neg 9 or higher. Not if it's neg 10 or lower than that. That just yes, when you get negatives, it goes down is considered lower, even though it says high. I mean, sounds high. So if he's neg 10 or worse, yeah, he's staying dead. But if you get him to neg 9 or better, then he'll boom. And they're like, yay! And then like a half hour later, the barbarian who took the Die Hard feat, which lets you go to stay conscious to neg 9, goes to neg 8. Bad guys are defeated. Their rage ends, and it's like, oh great, because you're a level 11 barbarian, there goes 22 hit points. Your character is minus 30 right now because that's 22 hit points gone. And the paladin still has his like 40 points worth of lay on hands at the ready. He can instantly save you by fully, completely, not only kicking you out of the negative, but putting you in the positive. But he decides that he's going to use it on the person who has 1 hit point left. It's just like, okay, we're not going to save a life then. Then here's the cleric with a rod of healing, not a rod of healing, but a staff of healing, who can heal 80 hit points, uses
Hmm.
lesser restoration on another party member to recover some dex damage gone. It's like, but you could have saved this character here, but we gotta stress healing people. But
He's dead.
he's dead now. No, he's not. It's like, yes, he is. He, you have status cast on him. You know he's negative 40. You know he's negative 40. But this person's poison. It's like, one, that's dexterity. Two, you have a staff of healing. You can remove all of the stat damage like it's nothing. And three, negative 40. Oh,
They
it's his
didn't.
fault. He shouldn't have done it. It's like,
The bad guys didn't kill him. You did.
yeah. It's like, at this point,
You are now a
it's not
murderer.
him. It's not the bad guys. It's them. So it's like,
Your god now has abandoned you. You do not feel you do not feel their presence anymore.
yeah. A thing that I find funny, and this doesn't help some people with fan theories. Most of the time, when people play, okay, because that we want to heal, we want to save lives, they're playing Pelorians, which Pelor is a he's a pretty good guy. But then the player base proves that, like, okay, you guys suck. I don't want to do anything with Pelorians because you guys have a track record for being the worst. Uh, but when we get to the God sections of the podcast, and we get to him, I'll do highlights and theories about why people think he's actually secretly an archdemon. Not an archdemon, sorry, an archdevil. I'm not kidding. That's an entire episode of BS right in amongst itself. Uh, but moving on, barbarians do get access to uncanny dodge, which functions like the rogue's uncanny dodge. Which, for those unfamiliar with uncanny dodge, you they gain the ability to react to danger before his senses normally would allow him to do so. He retains his dexterity bonus to AC, if any, if he is caught flat-foot or struck by an invisible foe, which pretty much means you, unless you're a unless you are considered a rogue or a barbarian, I mean, not a barbarian, a rogue of four levels higher, you can't sneak attack them. This uncanny dodge goes, oh, you have to meet this bracket over here to sneak attack me. Otherwise, you can't sneak attack me. This, oh, you're invisible? I don't know where you're at. I still keep my dex. Oh, I have no idea you're there. I still keep my dex because it's uncanny dodge.
I love uncanny dodge.
Yeah, it is a very, very fascinating ability. Next, they get Trap Sense, which what Trap Sense does is when a trap goes off, they get either a +1 to their reflex saving throw to avoid the trap, or a +1 dodge bonus to their AC to not get hit by the trap. And that bonus does go up, and it at level 18 it becomes a +6, which that may seem very small for that level. A +6 to anything, regardless of level, is the difference between your character suffering heavily or not suffering at all.
Unless you're me and you need a 16 and roll a 5.
Yeah, unless you're my co-host who can't seem to pass a saving throw to save his life, it can literally be a okay. You have a +15 to it. Yay! It's a DC 16, which DCs are not meet or beat. It's you have to beat a DC. And he's like, okay, I rolled a 1. Crack knocks. Like he can
Okay,
literally have it say, don't roll 1 and you pass 1.
roll a 1. Yes.
Like that literally could be it. Don't roll 1. Don't roll 1. We do not want you to a point where we can't say it. It's just like roll, and you're sitting there praying. Don't roll 1. Don't roll 1. Don't roll 1. He rolls a 1. It's
1.
like, and then when it doesn't matter. It's just a generic random whatever. Nat 20. It's like that's a waste of a nat 20. I mean, you pass whatever it is, but this it's a waste because this
Skill
is an
checks
unimportant die roll.
mostly skill checks.
Yeah. The next thing they get is improved uncanny dodge, which is like it sounds. It's uncanny dodge, but better. Improved uncanny dodge is you can no longer be flanked. They can react on because it gives the ability to react to all opponents all around you at the same time. So there is no like I'm in front of him, you're behind him. We're gonna do this. He's like
Nope.
I don't care. I know he's there. I can fight him equally as I fight you. And another thing that they start developing at level 7, and this is somewhat like an underappreciated thing, is damage reduction. Because that is, no matter what anyone says, a DR is a fascinating ability. It is a magnificent ability. It doesn't matter if it's a DR1 or a DR100, it can literally save a life. For instance, in my one of my games I'm running, one of the party members does have a DR, and it's the main reason why he's tanked so much stuff. Because it's like, okay, you take this much damage, but because you have a DR this, you no longer take as much of that damage. So there's been a few attacks that have literally done 0 damage because of his DR, which is just lets you feel like Hercules because you're like boom, like your muscles just bounce it off. And the DR is something that just makes the barbarians not have to wear armor as much or anything because it's like, okay, I may not have as high as an AC as the fighter or the paladin wearing armor, but they have to go through excess, outsource methods to get a DR. While it's just a waiting game for me because at certain levels I get on a certain level I get it, and then at certain other levels it gets better because at level 19 it becomes a DR5. So it's like right there around the time where the party could afford good DRs or afford to even get them or anything like that. The barbarians, like, I don't have to stress that. If I really want the really high DRs that everyone else is going for, I could, but I'm just going to stick with the barbarian DR and just spend the money on something else that helps me because I'll just have a glint of my muscles as the means of me surviving blows. They get the Greater Rage feature at 11, which is really good, but just like base Rage, really bad. Uh, the penalty to AC is still -2. The will save bonus becomes a +3 instead of a +2, which is really good. But the bonus to strength and con is now a +6. So they get pretty much a 50% increase in their effectiveness at hurting things, and additional 1 hit point per level, which also means at level 11, the amount of hit points you lose goes from what would normally be 22 hit points to 33 hit points. So your avenue of I don't want to be this low goes from like here to now here because when you get smacked down below 30 hit points, you're now stressing someone healing you.
Oh, your barbarian's not. He's
Yeah.
just raging. Player is.
The player is the part. The character doesn't actually give a crap because he's raging, but the player is like, "Can you hit me with a heavy heal, please? Like the biggest you got? Why? Just once this rage comes out, I'm gonna die." At level 14, they get Indomitable Will. Dun dun dun. While in rage, the Barbarian 14th level gets a +4 on saving throws to resist enchantment spells. This bonus stacks with all other modifiers, including the morale bonus on wills they receive during their normal rage. So normally they get, by this point, they're at a +3 for normal will saving throws. But if it happens to be an enchantment based spell, which it does specifically say enchantment based spell, which I'll go into the differences on a later episode. But it means that 3 becomes a whopping 7. So they're like, oh, I'm not going to calm down because I have a +7 to this instead of the +3. At level 17, they get tireless rage, which means at the end of their rage, they're no longer fatigued, which is still really, really great because it means they don't suffer a -2 penalty on attack roll, skill saving throws, and stuff like that for being exhausted. At level 20, they get Mighty Rage. Well, they still keep the -2 to AC. The will bonus becomes a +4 instead of a +3, and the bonus to strength and strength and con become a 8. Which, for those paying attention to the hit point gain, that's 4 times 20, which is 80 hit points at that point, which is a lot of hit points. A lot. But it also means that once you go from whatever your hit points happen is to be in the 70 point, you're like, oh, this is gonna suck. Because the moment rage ends, you lose 80 hit points. So once you get in the 60s, you're like, yeah, I can take a lot more damage, but if I don't get healed, I'm dying. And if you start to get any lower than that, then it's one of those points like unless someone heals me to like above 80 hit points, I'm just gonna prep for character death.
And then you have the healers and the paladin that you have that could have just gone, you're alive again. Okay, we'll deal with everything else later. They're looting the bodies.
Yeah, well, I mean, at 20th level, a paladin gets 20 times his charisma modifier in healing points, which means the paladin himself, even if he has a low charisma score, can still, like, let's say it's like he has like a 16. Well, that's 60 hit points he can heal. He can run up and just go, here's 60 hit points back, just to keep him in the Goldilocks area of you may go unconscious, but you're not dying. And that's not counting any other healing. But when I literally say people have like they get neglected to keep their to keep their barbarians alive, I mean it. Because out of all the classes that have weird features, rage is probably a really good, but the worst feature ever because it has a window of I'm killing myself at any given point. And at low levels, it's that extra hit points is kind of good, but it's not like, oh, I'm going to die because like the amount of hit points you lose isn't necessarily in that huge area of bull crappery. But then once you hit level 11, the chance of dying, again, goes up a little bit. And then once you hit 20, it's a huge window of, oh, I'm dead now. So the smart plays for a barbarian, besides loving the DR, would be to try to get any and all means to better that DR or get a better one because DRs, Nessa specifically says otherwise, DRs don't stack with one another. So getting something that has a 6 or higher DR means you're going to survive a lot longer because you're taking less damage. But my personal viewpoint of it is getting any and all items that enhance your ability to be healed. Because there is I believe it's a ring. Because it's a ring or bracelet that or bracers that whenever you get healed, it's considered automatically empowered if it's a healing spell. Not like lay on hands from a paladin, but anytime someone hits you with a heal spell, it's automatically empowered. That helps out a lot because that means you're healing 50% of all things that heal you. Uh, there's the Ankh of Resurrection. Now it goes on, kicks up your feet slot because even though it's called an Ankh, it's actually more like an anklet. It's wonderful because if you die, the item gets consumed and you're hit with a resurrection immediately. So as long as you overinvest in a bundle of those, you're literally auto resurrecting your character every time it dies. You've been saved by an Ankh of Resurrection a few
Yes, I
times.
have.
Not because you're a
Yep.
barbarian, but because of other shenanigans.
Yes. Yes, it was.
Yeah. Anything that gives you quick regeneration or fast healing, because just even if it's like a couple of points could be enough to keep you in the Goldilocks area. So anyone playing barbarian because the con boost, be prepared to lose your character because
If you have other players around that don't understand that you need to be healed.
yeah, that you have a self destruct feature that at any moment could instant activate and cause you to have a whole new character. Uh, so pretty much anything and everything, and I'm suddenly getting messages, and I don't care. Uh, Anything that gives you a healing factor, like regeneration or fast healing, and or anything that enhances your ability to be healed, or anything that's an automatic bring back, it can save your life instantaneously on multiple occasions. Uh, and it just works wonders to keep you alive. But if you're either being ignorant to the self delete feature and or just trying to have fun with the character, it goes into choosing the right race that fits within barbarians. In the world I'm using, there's two races that favor barbarian: the a ratman, and then there's a beetle person. The rat person that favors barbarian is the breed known as foamers, which favor class barbarian, and they make fabulous barbarians because they are a broke species in among itself. So if someone was in my
Yes.
world, I would recommend my world and they wanted to play a barbarian. I would strongly go, here's this class here because they're widespread. They foamers have a innate bonus to strength, dex, and con, even though they take a hit to intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. So they're not the brightest or most handsomest, but they come in like flexing muscles like no one's business. So being a barbarian is really good for them. The other one, if the party's taking with the game taking place on a certain continent, is the beetle person that has a huge strength bonus. Because even though they're
Mhm.
xenophobic when it comes to languages being illiterate fits right in there with that. It is their favorite class, and they get like a +6 strength, which is a huge bonus. And they are a large size creature, so they use large size versions of weapons. So, like one of those showing up with a two-handed weapon is like that's gonna hurt when he smacks you. And this two-handed weapons can be devastating no matter what. There's like in again one of the games I'm running, one of the party members, because of what he rolled and what he put, has a high strength, and straight from the get go with his great club, which is two-handed weapons, he's just pimp slapping everything with doing a lot of damage with it. And even though he got an item that increased his strength to a higher portion, he's doing over 10 damage per swing minimum. So playing something with a high strength just helps out a lot with being a barbarian.
It does. It
Yeah,
really, really does. It
yeah,
helps out even if you're not a barbarian.
yeah. Uh, but yeah, barbarians, like I said, they can be just really fun because you don't have to be the thinker of the group. You don't have to be the strategist of the group. You get to be the point me in a direction so I can go break the enemy. And that fits perfectly with the class. If you want to be the smart barbarian, either play a race that doesn't have an intelligence hit, or just put a lot of, I mean, make sure you just have a high intelligence. So that way you can go, yeah, I like breaking things, but I'm going to be smart in how I did it. Just like I said, Conan, smart barbarian. Because if you look at a lot of stuff he did and how he handled it, yeah, he was a typical I break things barbarian, but he was also very cunning about it. He also can be listed as having a high charisma, also. So yeah, it's like one of the reasons why a lot of women write, "Oh my god, oh." Uh, it's like why he got the princess and why he became king wasn't just because he saved the day, but it was because he managed to coincidentally put himself in a position to become Conan the king. Uh, and don't let the auto delete feature. Oh hey, look, a dog's coming to say hi. It's okay, Novi. You can lay down. She's probably gonna open the door and leave now. No, but I said, don't let that scare you from being barbarians. Don't let that discourage you. Let the rest of the party do that for you. Because the barbarian
I will be right back.
can be just a fun. Oh my god, screen. Just a fun class, an exciting class, especially if you want that slight rush of I could die at any moment. To some people play for the rush of it, and that right there can just give you that excitement. Uh, that being said, there's nothing really else to go over. Uh, yeah, there really nothing else to go over for it. So, that being said, thank you for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and leave comments below if you want any certain things answered or not. But I'll see you next time on Out of State Broadcast.